All right, welcome back to Gun Culture Radio, and this is episode 17. And I got Derrick back on by popular request.
Oh, imagine that.
And I'd still have him on even if he wasn't back on by popular request. I don't, if you guys don't like him, I don't care.
Thanks for the sympathy shot. I appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, we got some charity case.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to give him a couple of minutes here. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm glad you guys like him. So, anyways, as you guys probably know, I've been posting some things about it on the Facebook. Which, by the way, there's a Facebook account associated with this YouTube channel, Hickok 45 and Son, on Facebook. I've been posting stuff about our trip and making some just really bad jokes, different things about our trip out to Vegas and stuff. And one of the things I want to talk about with that, of course, SHOT Show was amazing. I mean, basically every gun company or anything that had anything to do with guns was at SHOT Show. Which, by the way, the NRA show is going to be in Nashville.
Oh, that's it. I'm there.
You got to be there. You got to. I think to get in, you have to be an NRA member, which is if you're not, it's $15. So.
You mean there are people who aren't?
Yeah, really. I know.
There's people out there who aren't.
Yeah, I know. People complain about the NRA, but man, the biggest voice out there, we got to support them. But yeah, NRA convention, it's a smaller version of the SHOT Show, but in some ways it's better because SHOT Show is very industry business oriented.
Okay.
So basically, what SHOT Show is for is it's a convention for gun shop owners. They come there and they say, "Oh, I like those products. I want to buy some to sell in my store."
It's the Comic-Con of gun people.
Yeah, I get. Well, I've never been to Comic-Con, but it's like
me neither. So
okay, but it's a convention like that, but it's very business oriented. But the NRA show, even though it's not quite as big, it's almost cooler in some ways because they're there for people like us who want to look at the guns and check them out and learn about them and stuff like that. They're not there for business, as much. It's more of a public kind of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, it's going to be at the new convention center in Nashville.
Oh, of course, fill them up.
Oh man, yeah, you got to go. They're usually like in April or something like that.
Bring it on.
And we'll probably be doing some meet and greets there. And you have to like hang around for one of the meet and greets, so some of your fans can meet you.
Fans.
And
okay.
And then they can tell you how much they hate like all of your ideas. And,
that's right. My God, I have a little booth.
Yeah.
That's all right. My God.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. But definitely got to go though.
I'm there, man.
Yeah. So if you're at the NRA show and you see someone who looks like it might be,
that's right. Have an entourage.
Yeah.
A convoy of black SUVs.
Yeah.
Plenty of bodyguards. Yeah. That's
me.
That's me.
But yeah, so SHOT Show was awesome, and we really kind of made a trip out of it this time. We stopped at a lot of cool places. And of course, as you guys know, Dad is a huge Western fan, and both of us, we're Western fans. We both love Westerns. And so we stopped at some cool Western spots, historical spots, and actually a movie spot too. Cool. But one of them we stopped at last time, Tombstone, of course.
Of course.
Gunfight at the OK Corral.
Come on.
Yeah, you got to see that. I mean,
dude, come on.
It's
great movie too.
Yeah, it really is.
Hey.
And Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, both great movies. Came out like the same time too.
Wyatt Earp, yeah.
Okay, it's a little more tedious. I'll give you that.
Okay. But Val Kilmer stole the movie.
Oh
Tombstone.
Man.
Doc Holliday. Hey, yeah, I'm your Huckleberry. Come on now.
Yeah.
He stole the movie.
Yeah, one of the greatest characters ever. I mean
20 years. That movie, 20 years ago? 25, 22 years ago?
Something like that.
I could watch it 100 times. Have watched it 100 times.
Yeah.
Great movie. Val Kilmer, great.
Oh, man. Unbelievable. It might be the best Western. It really might.
You can. If it was up to me, that's the way law enforcement should dress today.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Silk vest, 2 guns.
Yeah, big overcoat, trench coat,
That's right. My God.
Yeah. Great movie. And great, story and everything. It was so neat to actually, which this time we actually didn't go through the whole tour and everything because we'd already seen all that stuff. But from last time, it was so neat to stand there, literally right where it happened, exactly where it took place.
I heard the OK Corral is really like an alley.
Basically,
it is.
Okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but what it was, that was one thing that the movies made it a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Was there was basically it kind of really didn't happen in the OK Corral. It kind of happened next to the OK Corral because there was this place. I can't remember what it's called now. But it was basically a place to get your that's right, yeah. It was an IHOP.
That wouldn't have went over his bit.
Yeah.
Gunfight at the IHOP.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have went over his.
But it was a place. It was one of those old west photography places.
Okay.
No, it was a.
You got me. You had me going, man.
Yeah, it was back in the 1880s. You could dress up like the 1600s and get your picture taken.
They were waiting outside.
Yeah,
and a gunfight broke out.
Yeah, exactly. And they were dressed in like 1600 clothes. That'd be really strange. But no, it was a place to get your picture taken because that was a big ordeal back then.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like pull out your smartphone and take a
it,
selfie.
You had to make a day of it.
Yeah,
We're going out there. We're going to
sit
here for a couple hours.
I'd like to have seen someone take a selfie with one of those old cameras. You'd blow yourself up.
Well, you had to stand still for like a minute.
Yeah.
And then they hit the flash powder. And,
yeah.
Okay, all right. Not much action. Not too many action shots back
there. No, definitely not. So it happened. I wish I could remember exactly the entire layout of how everything happened, but basically it happened kind of behind that place, and the OK Corral was kind of adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Another thing too that was a little bit of a misconception the movies give you is it didn't take very long at all.
No.
I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it was very short. It was like a minute or so.
It was very close quarter too. They were really close to each other. And,
yeah, very, very close.
What's his name?
Curly Bill?
No. The leader of not Wilder. What was it?
Doc Holliday or the Virgil?
Virgil.
What's the other one?
I drew a complete blank.
Are you trying to think of the other one?
Who's that? Kurt Russell's character.
Oh, okay. Wait, Kurt Russell played Wyatt Earp, didn't he?
I thought. Okay, complete all this history, and we are drawing a complete blank.
Yeah.
Who was at the shootout at the OK Corral? It was
Well, let's see.
Holiday, Virgil.
Let's see. Virgil was played by Sam Elliott.
Okay.
And then
Kurt Russell played who?
Kurt Russell was he was Wyatt Earp.
Okay, Wyatt Earp. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, Wyatt Earp, he said. Now, the point I was going to make, but we couldn't remember who was at the OK Corral.
Yeah.
Was that he during the trial and after in his memoirs he wrote that it was very close quarter. You got 45 caliber fire from those old 1868 Army standards they used back then. Close quarter, high volume. He says, what saved him is you don't move.
Right.
You don't move because people react to motion.
Yeah.
And he says what saved him is that he didn't move. And come to think of it, you're right.
That makes sense because I can see how, because in a situation like that, your primal instincts kick in.
Yeah. You see movement, you're going to attack it.
Yeah, and nothing about guns is in our primal instincts.
No.
They're just too recent. There's nothing in them about the so yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And, he says what saved him, he didn't move. I think he had a round through his coat. 2 rounds through his coat, that big long rider he wore. But other than that, not a scratch. Which amazed people over the years. All that shooting he did, not a scratch.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not a scratch. I mean,
Yep. It's like Wild Bill Hickok,
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he ever got shot. Oh, when he got killed. I mean,
besides the one that killed him.
Exactly.
Other than that, he was fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. He was fine until he got shot that time.
No, he went to Hickok went through the Civil War. All those all that sheriff work out in the West.
The Indian fightings.
Yeah, not a scratch. Not a scratch. Until again, the guy came up behind him and let him have it.
Yeah, exactly. So that was neat to see. One thing that was cool, they had there, like a little thing outside near where the shootout happened, was they actually had a hand drawn diagram of the shooting that was done by Wyatt Earp in the 20s. It was 1929 or something like that. Like a few years before he died, he actually wrote it out, and it was really cool.
A lot of his a lot of what we know now is, but he somebody wrote a memoir in the 20s. Yeah. This is 40 years later.
Yeah.
So good, yeah. In fact, he was I think he was a technical advisor in the 20s in Hollywood.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, hey, nah. You pull your gun this way, not
Right,
that
yeah.
way. Like, when you fall down, it's like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that had been crazy to be on the set of a Western and Wyatt Earp was there.
Right.
Like, who's this old guy? What's he doing here?
Oh, that's Wyatt Earp. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What does he know about it? I think he
Yeah,
knows.
yeah. Which, by the way, speaking of movies, that was another site that we checked out was Old Tucson. You familiar with that at all?
I heard of Tucson. Never been there.
Well, there's this place that they call Old Tucson,
Okay.
which back in, I want to say it was 1939, I believe it was. Yeah, it was 1939. Hollywood went out to Tucson looking for some Western-looking locations to shoot Westerns. And they went to Tucson, and it was basically modernized. They realized, okay, there's nothing we can do here.
Okay.
So they went out into the desert, basically about 30 miles, I don't know, west, east, one of those directions away from it.
Yeah.
And found a place out in the middle of nowhere and built an exact replica of what Tucson, the town, looked like in the 1880s.
80s, yeah.
Yeah, and what's crazy is they actually built it the exact same way. They actually made these clay brick things and actually did it in the old style.
Excellent.
And built all these buildings and put them exactly where they were and all this. It cost forgot what it was, like millions and millions of dollars.
In the 20s?
Yeah, in the 20s, in the 30s.
Dude.
It shows how much money they were making on those movies back then. It's crazy. Built this entire town. So they filmed, some movies there, and then the war broke out, World War II, and then they couldn't do anything. And then in the 50s, they kind of revisited it, and that was when they really made tons of movies.
Yeah, that was 50s, the era of the Western.
Yeah.
In the 60s, TV Westerns, that was it.
Oh, man, yeah.
And then 70s came, and then it was cop shows. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But they filmed a bunch, some of the 50s John Wayne movie, was it El Dorado, I think?
Searchers, I think.
Was the one. I think they might have filmed that one out there. But anyways, they filmed a bunch of movies out there, and that was neat to see. A lot of it burned down, because they had this big fire back in the 90s, so some of it wasn't there.
Of course.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff they built wasn't just those clay ones. They actually had just regular wood sets, and they've been sitting out there in the sun, for
getting
60
dried
years.
out.
Yeah, so it just went up like $10.
You look at it too hard, it catches fire. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which was sad because they actually filmed some of Tombstone there, and the mission that that scene in the beginning where there's a mission in the background and the cowboys murder all those people and stuff. Well, when we first rolled up, we saw the face of that mission. We're like, oh, there's the spot. We were so excited, but then when they explained on the tour, because they just had a facade, it was just like the front of the mission, and they said that actually had burned down, and they filmed that scene at the original one, and this was just a new one that they put up.
They threw up. Well,
yeah, still,
you get the gist of it.
Yeah, but that was the spot where they filmed it, so we got to walk around there, and that was cool. So that was neat. That was kind of neat. And another place we checked out was Lincoln, New Mexico, where Billy the Kid broke out of jail, shot a couple of people. That's one kind of thing that's kind of weird about Billy the Kid is he's kind of regarded almost, maybe not quite like a hero, but people kind of almost look at him like that.
I think what they have is the movie image. What was that movie with Emilio Estevez?
Yeah,
and look at that
Young Guns.
Young Guns. I think that's the image they have of him.
Right.
But really, he's just some little jerk kid that knocked off a bunch of people.
Yeah,
I think he was more famous dead than he ever was alive. So.
Yeah, I agree. And that was a lot of that was just them trying to sell books.
That's right.
A lot of it.
But Pat Garrett killed him, didn't he? I believe Billy went to see some senorita one night, and Pat Garrett was in there and was waiting for him and blasted him.
Yeah, supposedly. So, that's the story. But there's actually some really, really credible evidence that Billy the Kid wasn't killed by Pat Garrett. They actually let him go because this guy showed up in the 30s. This real old guy claiming to be Billy the Kid. And of course, everyone laughed it off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Come on. It's the 30s. How they gonna prove it?
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't really. But a lot of people have looked into it since then, and there's actually some really compelling evidence that it was him. But it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean,
it could go either way.
All right, Billy, what happened?
Yeah,
what you been doing for the past 40 years?
Yeah, I know. You would.
Has he been at the IHOP going, "Hey, I'm Billy the Kid"?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. That's a tough one, but definitely interesting though. If you
never know.
if some of you guys are interested in that stuff, definitely look into that, because that is interesting. The possibility that maybe he wasn't killed there, and Bill and Pat Garrett was his friend, so it's not too crazy.
That he made people think he was dead so that he could get away. Yeah,
right.
Lay low, go to the witness protection program.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Billy the Kid was like the first ever witness WITSEC.
He was the first Walmart.
Yeah,
the guy at the door greeting you.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Might want to bring a mic just a little bit closer.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, that's probably good. And then let's see. And then I guess the last place I wanted to mention was Coffeyville, which is a really interesting location, because a lot of times in the movies, when some tough gang outlaws rides in, they always depict the townspeople as being very passive and afraid and like
hiding.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the way it was.
And no. A lot of these people from out west, you're talking about Civil War veterans,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Went to Gettysburg, Shiloh, Atlanta, Chattanooga. If some jerk came riding into town, they weren't gonna go hiding. These people are gonna pull out the guns and say, "Hey, dude, you need to keep riding."
Yeah, exactly. And you got mountain men.
Oh yeah, frontiersmen. They're not gonna be afraid of some guy on a horse. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's
unless it was Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, don't mess with Clint Eastwood.
Hey, outlaw Josie Wells. Okay, dude. All right.
Yeah.
Take whatever you want.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, dude.
Yep. But in Coffeyville, basically what happened was the Dalton gang, which they were one of the biggest gangs of bank robbers, and I guess they robbed trains, all that kind of stuff back in the day. I think it was like 1892 when this happened, I believe. And so they had this wild idea that they were going to, for the first time ever, rob two banks at the same time. So they rolled into town wearing fake 1800s beards. And big surprise, it didn't fool anybody.
Big string around your ear.
Yeah. Like some old brother, where art thou and stuff. And they were from there too. That was another thing. So people knew what they looked like, and their face had been in all the newspapers and stuff.
Of course.
So they come rolling into the town, and it just so happened there was construction had been done that day, like in the street. They were doing some work on the street, so they had to park their horses up an alleyway.
Okay. So
that was already one strike against them. So the townspeople realized what's going on. They're like, "Hey, this is them. It's the Daltons." So whoever didn't have guns, they went to this hardware store that was right across the street from one of the banks, very close. And they went up there, got a bunch of guns, and then went up to the second level, and it was a turkey shoot. I mean, they just wore them out. They basically, and I stood right there in the bank where it happened. The one of the original banks and the hardware store, actually, it's all still there. So that was neat to see all that.
1892. That's a little bit late for horseback bank robberies.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit toward the end of that era, kind of.
And they still had cars then, didn't they? I mean,
yeah.
You drove by. Hey, there's a guy on horseback.
Yeah.
robbing the bank.
Yeah. Much longer after that, a Thompson was basically like what you had to have for that kind of thing.
And then they had telephones. Nah, that was like later on.
Yeah, I think that was later on.
1876, the phone was invented. But I don't know how widespread it was.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah. Well, but what's crazy, only one guy survived. There's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them, something like that. The only guy that survived got shot 21 times. I believe it was 20. It was like in the teen. Or it was like double-digit numbers.
What, shotgun blast or just?
Some of them had to have been. Some of them had to have been.
I mean, because you taking 45 hits. I think maybe about 2, maybe.
Yeah,
you might survive.
There had to have been some of that. But supposedly, he had like 21, something like that, shots on him. And he lived a long time and wrote a bunch of books about it and stuff.
It was a different. Of course, it was a different world.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody just went out and grabbed some guns and started shooting these bad guys.
Yeah,
don't see that happening today for some reason.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't see that happening today.
It's a totally different culture.
Different attitude. Like I'm sure those people thought these guys are robbing the bank. That's our money in there.
Right. That's one difference.
Hey.
Nowadays, if you see, even if it's your bank that you go to all the time, it's getting robbed, you're calling, oh, that's crazy. You don't even think about losing any money.
Well, it's the FDIC. We got the FDIC. Don't worry about it. It's covered. No problem.
Right. Exactly. And that is an interesting thing. I mean, yeah, you can't have everybody run around trying to be vigilante, of course.
Because now the bank robbers have upgraded too.
Right.
You remember the movie Heat?
Yes.
De Niro? Oh, my God. Great movie.
Yep.
Not that I'm advocating any bank robbery, but if you're gonna do it, that's how.
Yeah.
We are not advocating bank robbery. I want that made clear.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But still, like, if you were gonna pull off a bank robbery, I mean, you're gonna stick with the old principle of outgunning everybody,
And
to do that nowadays,
it's very hard.
I mean, you're gonna have to have some serious stuff.
Back then, '94 is when that the actual bank robbery that was based off of in the movie Heat happened in 1994. And at that time, those bank robbers in that movie did have the police outgunned.
Right.
But the cops have upgraded since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, police have ARs in their trunks and stuff now.
Oh yeah, there's no more of this revolver crap or
Right.
9mm and with your 12 gauge shotgun. No more of that.
Yeah.
They are fully equipped.
Yeah, exactly, and it should be because
Yeah.
we don't want,
Because you got that caliber of criminal out there now.
right, exactly. But now guns they don't stop crime, of course.
No.
Better guns.
Harsh language should be enough now.
Right, better guns would never stop crime. Yeah, because that was the thing back in the especially with the Dillinger days. You guys have seen Public Enemy's, great example.
Great movie.
Oh man, one of my favorite movies. But yeah, they had little 38 or 32 caliber, maybe even revolvers against Thompsons and BARs and all that.
Back then, especially in your rural, your country police agencies, most policemen had to buy their own gun.
Right.
And if you were doing that on the little bit of pay they gave you, it was going to be a 32 or maybe a 38 special.
Right.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
And you got, again, criminals that are robbing armories, getting Thompsons, or that movie that gun that Pretty Boy Floyd had in Public Enemies. It was a 38 Super fully automatic.
No, I think you're thinking of it wasn't Pretty Boy Floyd. I don't think it was what's his name?
He got blasted in the end.
Yeah.
They finished him off in the end.
Babyface Nelson.
Babyface Nelson. That fully automatic pistol he had.
Yeah. There's 1911 full auto.
It was calibered for. It was chambered for 38 Super.
Okay.
Fully automatic, and he just outgunned everybody. Now you emptied your gun like that.
Yeah.
But
still, that's
close
pretty
in.
wicked.
Close in. Nobody could touch him.
Yeah. That's effective. Plus, it intimidates people. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not ready for that.
You got a revolver, 6-shot. And this guy's emptying 10, 12 rounds at you in 2 seconds.
Right.
Again, and the criminals just outgunned the police.
Right.
Which has led to the 1934 Weapons Act.
Probably.
Which
and the whole St. Valentine's Day massacre.
That too. That too.
Yeah.
So you can't go out and buy Thompson at the hardware store anymore.
Yeah, sad times. It would be pretty awesome if you could still do that. The thing is, like, defense is all about evening the playing
odds.
field.
Exactly. Evening the playing field. You're right.
If they got it, then
if they got it, you don't. You're screwed.
Exactly.
You're screwed. I mean, hey, they're taking your money. Here you go, sir. Anything else? Want a sandwich? Hey.
Right. Yeah. And that's another thing that's crazy with some of the gun laws and stuff that we have nowadays. The punishment just doesn't seem to fit the crime when it comes to some of the gun possession laws.
Yes.
When it comes to especially like SBRs, if you have a shotgun that you've sawed off. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, take some guy lives out in the country somewhere and he's got a shotgun, double barrel, and he thinks it'd be cool to just saw the barrel off. It'd just be a cool looking gun and just go, blast at tin cans with it. He's not hurting anybody. But because he's done that, now he is assumed that he's going to use it in a crime. In a way, it's almost like a form of mind control because you're telling him that he's not capable of like handling the responsibility of having that gun or something. It's crazy.
I think it depends. It depends on the jurisdiction, and if it's on your property in your house and you're doing the right thing, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right.
But again, if somebody sees you with it, again, now there could be an issue. Somebody sees you with a weapon that they think is illegal, they call it in. Now you probably gonna have a lot of explaining to do.
Right.
But as long as what you got to worry about is having an illegal weapon in the commission of a crime.
Right.
That's a problem.
And see, that to me makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. But someone going to jail for 2 or 3 years just because they happen to have something like that in their house, like that's messed up.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's not fair.
That depends on the jurisdiction and the legal representation you have. Because any kind of proper, appropriate legal representation is going to say, well, what was he doing with it?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It was in his house.
Yep.
He wasn't committing a crime. He wasn't threatening anyone. What's the problem? The fact that it's an illegal weapon, okay. we'll take proper measures to deal with it.
Right.
But the man should be imprisoned for what?
Right, exactly. I have a problem with almost any law that assumes something that can't be proved.
Yeah.
A good example of this is open container to me. Okay? I mean, it really is because, like, if you're driving down the road, you're totally just stone cold sober, totally legal to drive. You got all the credentials you need, and your friend next to you is drinking a beer. That has nothing to do with your ability to drive. Absolutely nothing. Like,
You're right.
Nothing.
Yes, you're
it has
right.
no
You're
effect on it. He could be just drunk. Now if he's too drunk, maybe it could cause a problem with them like trying to mess with you while you're driving. Maybe, but if he's just drinking a beer, right? That's open container. Like it's not like you're going to jail, but it's a it's a pretty stiff fine.
It's a way to just try to
Makes it easier for police, is what it
yeah,
does.
yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. It's just a way to make to enforce zero tolerance of any kind of alcohol behind the wheel, even if you got alcohol in the car with you.
Right.
They're trying to make that an issue.
Right.
Example that people have a problem with is DUI per se, and what that is, if you're in a parked car in the back seat with a beer open and you're drunk, you could be charged with a DUI.
Yes, that's crazy.
Because the idea behind it, which you're right, it sounds kind of funky, but the idea behind it is even if you were in the driver's seat, you're in that vehicle, which means you're in control of it, and you're intoxicated. Again, it's a way that the jurisdictions try to enforce zero tolerance of any alcohol in the vehicle at all.
Right.
And
they need to. I don't know. They need to be clear on that because
it depends on where you're at and if they're going to enforce it, but they can.
Yeah,
be aware that they can enforce it.
Right, because the problem is if you have been drinking too much, you might want to do the responsible thing and sleep in the parking lot. But I've heard of people getting DUIs even when they're not in the driver's seat.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Same thing here in this undisclosed location.
Right.
In this area, this individual was he came out of a bar, felt he was too drunk to drive, climbed to the back seat of his car, and went to sleep.
Yeah.
Someone saw him in the back of his car. Police showed up. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, man, I came out. I was too drunk to drive. I climbed to the back seat, went to sleep. They got him with a DUI per se.
Yeah.
Because he was technically in control of the vehicle, and he had the keys in his pocket.
Yep.
So it's a way again to enforce zero tolerance of any alcohol related driving at all. So,
yeah. I'll tell you a prime example of how it actually can make the roads more dangerous having a law like that, because I remember back when I used to work the nightclubs and stuff. I'd always be out and did the parking lot and hated to be inside. Always I wanted to be in the parking lot. And I remember I've probably seen this a few times, but one really sticks in my mind. There was this guy who went out to his car, and I was, because you keep an eye on everyone, what everybody's doing in the parking lot, if someone's in their car or whatever. So I noticed that he goes to his car and he stays in his car. He had it running because it was cold and he wanted to stay warm. He's sitting in his car. Well, Metro shows up because they want to. They would just show up and just try to get some freebie kind of stuff.
Of course.
And, they were looking at people's cars and stuff like that. So what's this guy do? He goes, oh, Metro's showing up. I better get out of here. So he starts driving away and about wrecked into a bunch of cars on his way out of the parking lot. He was trashed, And he went out on the road and probably didn't get pulled over.
It happened. You're right. It happens all the time, and you see people leaving these bars. They have no business driving.
Right.
Oh, but I just live a mile away. Yeah. Right.
But they felt like they could, sleep in their car.
Exactly.
Oh, why didn't they call a cab? Well, it's expensive to call a cab,
Less expensive than DUI.
Oh, definitely. No, yeah, I'm not saying don't call a cab if you. Yeah, I'm just saying that people should have that option if they want to sleep in the car. I mean, that's responsible. They're not hurting anyone.
You would think so. I've seen this on a couple of occasions. You had individuals that were too drunk to drive. The local officers will give the guy the option to call somebody.
Right.
We're not going to take you in, but you got to call somebody, and they got 20, 30 minutes to get here. Or else we're going to have to take other action. I've seen that, too.
That's at least within the law. That's at least reasonable.
Yeah. The law is meant to be enforced with common sense. And it just depends on who pulls up on you and sees you.
There's some stuff that almost I feel like shouldn't be on the books. It's just like because if I don't like laws basically in a nutshell that are only there to make life easier for the police. Because like I said, if someone's done something wrong, you should be able to prove it. I heard someone make a great comparison, to like this situation compared to other situations where there's crimes that can't actually be proved, but it's just kind of there because to make things easier, is if some guy gets pulled over and he's got everything he needs in his car to break into somebody's house. Yeah. He's got crowbar, he's got body armor, guns,
burglary tools.
Yeah, he's got the whole kit, everything. He can't be charged with anything, which I don't necessarily think he should be because all that stuff is legal. It's fine.
Okay.
Right? So he's about to break into somebody's house. He's got everything. Maybe he even has a record. There's nothing they can do about that, But situations where someone, this is a smaller scale thing, but someone has open container, then they're allowed to assume all of a sudden, oh, well, because of that, he's probably going to do this, so he's in trouble. It seems like kind of a double standard to an extent. I'm not advocating for
I know what you're saying.
that guy being in trouble because, it might look like he's going to break into a place, but still, he can't prove anything. So,
The only rebuttal I can give is that it could be worse because, places like Singapore, I did a report on these guys in school. People, tout their low crime, how safe it is there. Well, it's because they have a zero tolerance for anything.
Right, they have no freedom.
Anything you do out of line can get you hooked up.
Yeah.
So, but they said something that I do agree with. The Singapore police have said that if you enforce the law, people will obey it.
Right.
And I think a lot of the stuff that we think is very nitpicky here is just an effort to get people to obey the law.
Right.
And avoid problems.
Right. Which really almost we just need to kind of revisit all the laws in this country, just trim all the fat, get rid of a lot of the bad ones, and then actually enforce the ones we do have.
In this certain organization that shall remain nameless.
Yeah.
That only recently, it's a very old organization, been around a while.
Right.
Only recently did they pull this rule off the book, this law, this regulation off the books. Until recently, if someone insulted you, you could challenge them to a duel with pistols.
Oh man!
And it's been within 10 years that they said, well, maybe we should just get rid of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 21st century. Yeah, maybe we should get rid of that 18th century rule. Yeah.
Man, I hate to hear that because I missed my window with some people. There's some people that, man.
Dueling, what's the problem?
Yeah.
You know what? Okay, enough talking. Out in the field, Dawn, pistols. Okay.
Yeah, and what you do is, the trick would be you got to practice like every day, but then when you challenge someone, you got to act like you're just a complete slob.
Oh man, I really don't want to do this, but
right. It's kind of like there was a Simpsons episode where Homer only worked out one arm and got it like really strong.
Yep.
So then he would like hustle people. He would show up at the arm wrestling contest. And he'd show his regular arm and be like, okay, and then it's a good trick.
So again, dueling, what's the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, they're good adults.
There almost needs to be a what do you call it? Is it not statute of limitations? What's it where something like can only be on the books for a certain amount of time and then it goes away, where something like it sunsets or
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name either, but you're right. And what it comes down to is that every so often you review all your standards, your regulations to make sure they're still current, because times and people and societies change. So we got to make sure our laws are current.
Right.
Apply to today.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like this, a law from 1885. Well, can't carry more than 2 flints for your rifle.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit outdated.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit outdated.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little bit.
No more gunpowder. No more your powder horn can't be more than 2/3 full.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we can get rid of that one.
Yeah.
I think that's good. All right, we don't need that one
anymore. Yeah. Or like most counties and states still have laws on the books about buying alcohol on Sunday.
Blue laws, yeah. In this, in the great southern state that I came from, you could not buy no alcohol before 12 on Sunday. By God,
yeah.
Jesus, hey, you got to go to preaching early, and then after preaching, then you okay to buy your liquor.
Yeah, because people apparently in the South don't think ahead.
Ever, the night before,
never think ahead.
No. Yeah, they were the days.
Yeah. Speaking of laws and stuff, one thing we're gonna dig up some old bones on about the whole Supreme Court decision, the '08 and the 2010 Supreme Court decision, and that's an important one for us to remember, and everything, and basically, you probably know it better than I do, but
the 2008 Supreme Court decision was basically struck down the District of Columbia's 1975 Firearms Control Act,
right,
which said that you couldn't conceal carry a weapon in the District of Columbia. It was illegal to do that. I know all you guys out there, are bringing that up right now on your computers. That's good, right. But my understanding of it was that again, no concealed carry in the District of Columbia. If you did have a weapon, it had to either be unloaded with a trigger lock or disassembled.
Right.
Which, okay, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a weapon.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there's someone in the house, honey. Okay, where are my parts for my Glock?
Yeah. You'd really need to practice that.
In the dark.
Yeah.
But in 2008, the Supreme Court took an actual hard look at this, and they found that it was that the 1975 Firearms Control Act of the District of Columbia was unconstitutional.
Yep.
And that no state or entity may make any ruling that will inhibit your right to bear arms and defend yourself.
Yep.
So, Second Amendment, let it go.
Yep.
The problem that was that we had in '08 was that it said all federal, any kind of federal enclave, whatever that means.
Oh, yeah, really.
Federal enclave, they could not make any rule or regulation that would restrict your right to bear arms. The problem is it didn't specifically say anything about state or local jurisdictions making rules or regulations that could limit your right to bear arms. Which in 2010 there was another ruling that clarified that.
Right.
No state, local jurisdiction may make any law, regulation, whatever, handout that may limit your right to bear arms in the United States. You have for self-defense.
Right.
You could have your weapon for. I think the actual wording was you can have your weapon for uses other than a militia. Which who uses that word anymore?
I know.
Militia.
Yeah.
I think there are some people out there who do.
Yeah.
Freeze them
there are some out there. Yeah, but that was the big thing that I believe that was one of the first times ever that the Supreme Court
acknowledged it. Yeah.
Right, acknowledged the fact that people are supposed to are allowed to have guns.
Exactly, and they may have them for personal defense purposes.
Right,
as long as they are. We've hit this point 100 times on this show. Well, they can responsibly and legally own weapons for self-defense.
Right, because defense is the only thing civilians do.
Exactly.
Should be doing.
Exactly. So it was made absolutely clear there's no more questions. Right. And the NRA thought the NRA felt like, and they were right, these are landmark decisions by the Supreme Court.
Right.
They were absolutely right.
Right. I mean, I hate to be pessimistic about it, but I see it as it's a small step, but it's a step. That's a good thing. I mean, it is. In some ways, it's a big step because it's the first one, but I still kind of see it as a small step. So hopefully, in the future, we can get some other decisions out there. But it's good though. I mean, it's nice that finally they acknowledge that because it kind of makes, at least it makes me feel like worst case scenario they can only take it so far.
Exactly, and a lot of gun folks can sleep easier because any kind of gun legislation, which I have a problem saying that word, is getting no traction in Congress.
Right.
Some of these gun control people are trying to reinstate the 1974 assault weapons ban.
Oh, 94, you mean? Right?
94?
Yeah.
74? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's 94. Yeah.
I'm both for 20 years. Come on.
yeah. It's close.
Come on, whatever. Come on. They know what I mean.
They didn't even know that term probably in 74.
The 1994 weapons ban.
But then back in the 74, they were like, assault what?
410 over here.
Yeah.
Bolt action.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't have that no more.
Yeah.
But anyway, some of your gun control people are trying to revive the 1994 assault weapons ban, which, again, no one has any enthusiasm to do.
Right.
Also, the limit the capacity of magazines to 10 rounds.
That's one thing they have been successful with, unfortunately, in some states, like Colorado.
Colorado, come on.
Yeah, I know. Because I think in Colorado you can only have a 10-round magazine capacity.
Okay.
And I think New York still has that 7-round thing that saves all those lives.
I gotta ask. I gotta ask this now. If you have a magazine that was pre-banned,
I think some of they're grandfathered in. I think. I'm
okay
not really clear on it. Some of you guys in Colorado can let us know in the comment section. But
my understanding is you cannot, like a lot of laws, if you have the stuff before the law takes effect, then they can't really do anything to you because I purchased this before this ban went to effect. Now, as always, if you commit a crime or you use that weapon in the commission of a crime, you're done.
Right.
But if you legally and responsibly use your weapon, well, okay, it's more than 10 rounds, but I purchased it now. I don't know how you're going to prove that. I purchased it before the ban took effect.
Right.
But most states, or nationally, there's no traction for that to reinstate the limited capacity ban.
Yeah.
So, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to squash a lot of these magazine restriction things is just as 3D printers become more common, they'll eventually have to give up because 3D printers are just going to make it so easy, especially with magazines. I mean, because there's not much to them. Print out the plastic parts and then maybe buy the spring. Because how are they going to restrict a spring, like some certain kinds of springs? I mean, they can't.
There is absolutely no enthusiasm for. I think it was I know I got to cite stuff. For all you guys that shot me down with the Canadian gun thing. Okay, you're right. You were right. I'm sorry. I came unprepared. You were right. But there was a business. Okay, I'm not even going to try. Anyway, I read somewhere. That 2013 Gallup poll found that 78% of people are not in favor of more gun laws.
Yeah, I think I saw that article.
They want just stricter enforcement of the stuff we already have. Also, I've read too that there is nobody's actually exactly sure at how many gun laws we have in America, both federal and state. Somebody's guesstimated 20,000, but nobody's sure.
That's just crazy. 20,000,
and no one and who enforces it?
Yeah.
So I think again, everybody's for responsible legal gun ownership. And nobody wants any kind of restrictions on what you can have as long as you behave legally and responsibly.
Right.
But what people are in favor of, especially to avoid some of these mass shootings that we've had, is better mental health support.
Right.
It's not guns. It's us.
Right.
It's not guns. Better mental health support will give people more options, and maybe we can avoid some of these issues we've had in the past. Almost 90% of people believe, again, better mental health support.
Right. It's our system and way of thinking that needs to be revisited, not the things in it.
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's a lot of the problem. It just comes down to culture.
Exactly.
In general, because as I think a fundamental problem with almost anything is something starts out good and then it gets more and more complicated. Like this happens with it's a friend of mine is real big into computers was explaining to me how this happens with web browsers. You notice how like Netscape was the big one, and then there was Internet Explorer, and then Firefox.
Okay.
And now Google Chrome is kind of the one that people use, and then there'll be another one after that probably. The reason for that is, as he was explaining to me, is they got more and more complicated, and they just got too messy and they sucked basically.
They get overcomplicated. Yeah.
Right. And that sort of is what is kind of a point I feel like our society is hitting. And a lot of it has to do with just our culture is that it's getting more and more complicated to the point where people forget that it's only culture and it's all just a bunch of stuff that we all just kind of made up, as we were going along because we thought it was a good idea. And we're getting kind of lost in ourselves. We're getting lost in our own mess, sort of. And some people who are not particularly stable already, it really screws them up.
Who have pre-existing issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Like people like us can handle it. People, of course, that listen to the show that are just highly, all of our listeners are highly intelligent.
Yeah, they're just fine. You guys are okay.
All of us, we're good. But the problem is when things, when these kinds of things happen, though, it really weeds out those weakest links.
Yes.
That's the problem. And
exactly.
And those are the people that are shooting up the place.
Exactly. And this liberal magazine that I read.
There's nothing wrong with that.
By the way, you're right.
That's something I try to, that's always been a thing in the gun culture is guns have always been, by God, if you're a conservative, you support guns, and liberals are just oversensitive gun grabbers. I mean, my whole life, that's the kind of thing I've grown up hearing, and it's just so wrong. You can't make that. Yeah, you can't make a generalization. Just because you're conservative doesn't mean one thing, and just because you're liberal doesn't mean anything else. So
these folks.
That's better.
These folks that wrote this book.
Yeah.
They were touting how other countries don't have the same problems that we have with weapons. Well, other countries don't have the same freedoms either.
Right, exactly.
But Japan, you can have weapons in Japan, but they have a very exhaustive application process,
right,
followed by written test, physical examination, mental evaluation, approval by the police, and you have to have a gun safe in your house. If you're willing to go through all that, I'm pretty sure you're going to be scored away.
Right.
But again, that's they don't have the same freedoms.
Right. That's the thing, like eliminate or like drastically reducing crime, not a problem. It can be done.
Yeah.
No problem. But at what cost? That's the
thing.
Yes.
Brain Franklin, what did he say? Anybody that trades freedom for security don't deserve either.
Right.
So
great quote. Yeah.
So, dude.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, yeah, that's a whole safety versus freedom argument. Yeah. Which I love to talk about that because if the point of life was to live as long as possible, then we're doing it all wrong. We're doing it all wrong.
What?
We need to live in like concrete dwellings underground, and eat some type of nutrient paste, and not get too excited, about anything.
Quality of life, is that what you said? Yeah. Quality of life versus length. Okay.
Oh well, freedom versus safety.
Okay, all right, good.
If we just want to be safe and live a long time, we're doing it all wrong. Right. So let's go ahead and embrace the slightly more dangerous, exciting, risky world of freedom.
Thank you very much. There you go. By God.
Yeah. So that's our public service announcement for today. Oh man!
Oh my God!
Oh yeah. One thing I was going to talk about that was an interesting little side note of the trip out to the land of the West was we went to a town that some people might be familiar with, Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Here we go.
And I'm not going to get too crazy on this topic.
Okay, yeah.
I'll keep it very very basic, but it was really interesting because now, of course, you roll through town and they got alien stuff everywhere. Because if you're not familiar, Roswell is the site for one of the most infamous, what people claim is a UFO cover-up.
Of course.
Which the official story was that it was a weather balloon. Of course. But it was interesting because going there was really interesting because at first they had a UFO museum, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So that was kind of cool. So they had like a bunch of neat stuff in there.
Okay.
But the neatest part was we actually ran into this guy, which I won't say where it was because I don't want to
Oh, okay, got it.
But he was about 80 years old.
Oh, okay.
And he was there when it happened.
Okay.
And he said that he not like there was like, hey, what's that? But he was like living in the town.
Okay.
And he said that he knew. He knew some people that were involved in the situation.
Okay.
And he said, in a nutshell, that some type of craft, something definitely landed there for sure. Like something crashed there.
Okay.
So that was his thing. He was like, because he was a very sensible guy, older guy. He was not going to be believing some crazy stuff. Okay. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't one of those like, man, I'm telling you, it was this. They're all coming for our brains, man. It wasn't one of those.
Aluminum foil on his head.
Yeah. Okay. No, he wasn't one of those. He was just a very sensible kind of guy. Okay. And he said, I don't know what it was. I don't know who it was, but some type of stuff. Some type of ship, something flying through the air that was nothing like anyone had ever seen before crashed there. And, that's interesting.
not to be cynical.
Yeah.
But government cover up. Okay, it's the same government that can't balance the budget. We can't stop crime, but we can cover up the aliens.
That's what they want you to think.
That's right. That's where it's a ploy. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'll be honest though, when it comes, just not necessarily with that stuff, but when it comes to the government, there's two schools of thought when it comes to the government. It definitely seems like sometimes the government is just grossly incompetent.
Okay.
And how do these politicians get in? They don't even understand basic stuff and all this kind of thing. And just like something that I've talked about before, where if you know a lot about one subject, you can take it and apply it to a lot of other ones, and you'll probably find that it's probably fairly accurate, because everything is basically the same when you really get down to it. It seems like. So when it comes to guns, I probably 3 or 4 years ago, I stopped believing that politicians are ignorant of guns.
Oh no, of course not.
It doesn't make sense.
No, come
okay.
on now.
Yeah, they say ridiculous things, but they say that I think they say that stuff on purpose. Because you mean to tell me that like some politician that's devoted like a big chunk of their career to banning guns is going to be just ignorant to the most basic facts about them? I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Nobody's that crazy, insane.
No, I don't buy it. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. There was a president, I can't remember what it was, but from back like before Kennedy, that said, anything that happens in politics, you can basically guarantee that it happened that way for a reason. It wasn't an accident. Well,
a lot of them playing to their constituents too.
Right.
They're playing to the people that got them there.
That's a lot of it. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot of it. Some of them, they might not even care. Really about banning guns. They might not care.
The people that sit me here want this. Okay, I'll talk this.
Yeah, or they think they do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. They don't care. They can have all the guns they want. They don't care.
Exactly. I have to think that a lot of it is the people in my district, my whatever. They're upset about this, and I have to address it.
Right, and if I act like I know too much about guns, then I'll lose respect. So it's something like that. So when it comes to the government, a lot of times, like, I don't know, I don't buy the poor me. I don't buy the whole what's the word for it? I don't buy the innocent card. You know what I'm saying? They know what they're doing. They are who they are for a reason. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. So. Anyways, I don't want to get too much on that, but let's see. What else do I have in my handy-dandy notebook? Oh, yeah, one thing I was going to talk about. I don't think we've talked about this before. I don't know. If we have, let's do it again.
Okay, go for it.
But I want to talk about body armor a little bit.
Oh, okay.
There's been a lot of, in the YouTube world, there's been tons and tons of testing with it, which is kind of cool because it's kind of neat to actually see real world, like what these things can handle, but you have worn a lot of body armor, so.
Oh yeah. People either, depends on what the job is. You can either get your body armor tailored toward what you're doing.
Right.
What's the job? What's the mission going to be like? You can't walk around here with the big class 4, outer turtle shell. That's not practical for civilian police work.
Right.
I think they carry, most cops, patrol officers wear
the
class soft, but class 2 armor.
Yeah. Or level 3 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and even then, it's a good safety thing.
Right.
But from what I've seen in this local jurisdiction, that should remain nameless.
Yeah.
Most of them don't.
Yeah.
Don't wear body armor. It's good to have. It's a great safety thing, but
Yeah.
I have been outrun on certain occasions when I used to wear body armor all the time.
Yeah.
In certain food pursuits, they left me in the dust. You're not going to run these guys down.
Yeah. Those plates are heavy.
Oh yeah. I mean, all the other equipment you're wearing, plus your body armor,
right.
Dude, you make a good showing. You run about 30, 40 yards, and then, okay, you got me. I'll get you next time.
Right.
Hey. But it's pluses and minuses.
Right.
It slows you down, but you're more protected.
Right. But is it gonna? But that's another interesting factor. I think is you're more protected, but is it gonna put you in more likelihood to be in a situation where you're really gonna need it?
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because if you're stiff and you're not able to move as well, you might be more likely to be shot or something.
Exactly. And it's give and take. And I think it's like everything. A lot of the stuff we do here is personal preference.
Right.
Personally, depending on what the job is.
Right.
If I'm doing some usual kind of work, whatever that is,
Yeah.
I won't worry about it. But if I'm doing some extremely high risk stuff in a extremely high risk area,
Right.
you might want to throw some body armor, dude.
Yeah.
You know, hey.
Especially if you're going to be maybe standing in one spot or something like that.
You know, it's very obvious that you're you doing this.
Right.
Especially when some of the bad guys, which the bad guys have upgraded. Used to be the AK used to be a weapon of choice. No. It's the AR now. The bad guys are carrying ARs now.
Yeah.
This local jurisdiction busted these guys with a lot of cocaine and heroin and a lot of weapons. It was strictly ARs. None of this old school AK-47. No. They're carrying ARs now.
Maybe those are drying up. the AKs are drying up on the black market. No.
So, again, it's all about what are you doing?
Right.
That determines what kind of equipment you carry. But body armor is always a good idea.
Yeah.
Always a good idea.
Yeah. On that note, we have to take a break for a second because I got to piss.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
but yeah, I think body armor it definitely it's not the ultimate.
No.
You know, there's definitely some downsides to it, but it's definitely a good idea to probably have some if you can afford it. You know, just in case, because there are certain applications where it definitely makes sense.
There's a lot of affordable stuff out there. At the very minimum, get the stuff that covers the front and back.
Right.
Leaves your size open, but depending on what kind of firing stance you use, you should be fine.
Right.
But just basic safety is good to have.
Yeah, and it's going to be improving too over time. That's the thing. It's going to be all the time getting lighter and better and
hope so.
All that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's heavy. I know there's some really light stuff out there, but it's just crazy expensive.
Oh yeah,
like $900 a plate or something like that. Because I saw some of that on the internet one time. But I mean, it was like a third the weight of like the normal stuff.
But unfortunately, your average Joe ain't gonna be able to afford that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Good God.
Yeah, but I wonder, what do you think about, like, even if you had, let's say, body armor that was only designed to stop a 9mm, maybe, you know, if you did get shot with like an AK round, is it just gonna like slow it down or something like that? I mean, I don't know how the ballistics work on that. But.
They hit you with a AK, you're done. Yeah. You're done.
Yeah,
hit things short. Now those SAPI plates that the Army uses, they can stop an AK round.
Yeah,
they're meant to stop 7.62.
Yeah.
One, if they double tap you, you're done. But
the ceramic
plates.
Okay.
They're meant to stop. They can stop a 7.62, no problem. But they're big and heavy too.
Yeah.
Your average police patrol officer body armor, they hit you with an AK, you're done.
Yeah.
Or an AR will punch right through that.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna stop a rifle round.
Yeah.
Any kind of body armor that you're gonna use out there, 9.45 unless he double taps you.
Right.
Well, I'll take that back. 45s aren't effective against body armor.
Because they're big and slow.
They're big and so big, slow. 230. Wait, 230 for 230 grain for
that's 40, standard for 45.
45 ball, but 45 hollow points like 180.
Well, it depends on which ones you get, but yeah.
On average, so 45 a big slow round, body not effective against body armor.
Yeah.
So you probably okay.
Yeah.
You know, but any kind of rifle round, you're done.
Of course, you know, one way you can look at it, the 45 might be it's less effective as far as penetrating the body armor, but might be more effective in the sense of a little more thump. You know,
you're gonna get knocked down.
Yeah.
Definitely. You're gonna get knocked down. It may not penetrate, but you'll knock them down. So.
It might actually, if you're wearing body armor, it might actually be more likely to knock you down.
Yeah.
Just because of the pain and the impulse and all that kind of stuff than if it actually went into you.
Yeah.
Because it's all that energy is transferred right onto your chest. You know? I
guarantee if you're going up against a bad guy that has body armor, you hit him with a 45, he's going to be on the ground.
Yeah.
The threat's going to be extremely reduced.
Right, yeah. Yeah, and it's not necessarily that, like, just the force of the bullet would necessarily, but just all... You know, everything with the noise and the
very loud
shock and
you're gonna get hit.
You're gonna be out probably. You know?
Even if he don't penetrate, you're gonna think he did.
Yeah.
I'm done, dude. Don't kill me.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's one thing they don't capture very well in the movies is guns are scary.
Very loud and very devastating. People, I don't think a lot of people really realize that. How loud, how devastating weapons are.
Yeah.
Even if you get hit, it's probably better to get knocked off, because if you survive getting shot, you're talking about multiple surgeries, months, if not years, recovering.
Yeah.
It can be worse to survive.
Yeah.
So it can be.
It's really bad, yeah.
Especially if they're using heavy caliber. By God.
Yeah, and it can mess you up for a long time. Like my great grandfather got shot in World War One, like right above his heart. And it just was a complication for his whole entire life, and he died like young, like 45 or 50.
Yeah, I mean, it's the weapons are devastating. If you get hit and survive, unless it's like a perimeter shot, an arm or a leg, and even that's gonna be rough.
Right.
So it can be rough. Weapons are not to be messed with. Again, responsibility.
Exactly. And one thing too that people argue about when it comes to concealed carry is there's kind of a saying out there where people say any gun is better than no gun. And like I would agree with that to an extent, because some people, well, why would you ever carry a 380? That's just such a small cartridge and all this kind of stuff. Thing is, people are going to respect any gun. Yeah. And in a lot of cases, just having a gun is going to be all that you need.
It's like you pull out a 380, he goes, ha!
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I eat those for lunch.
You can't hurt me.
I've been shot by a 380 3 times already today.
I got hit twice this morning with a 380. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. But yeah, obviously, a better gun is always better. Yeah. But it's what you're going to carry. That's the thing.
Preference, and also training and shot placement.
Right.
About shot placement.
Yeah. And also the balance of, ideally, maybe a full-size handgun of some kind with like 3 extra magazines, and all of this kind of stuff.
God. Yeah, John Wick.
Like that would be like the ideal, situation. But, are you really willing to sacrifice like how you want to dress and all that kind of stuff and what places you want to go?
Again, what you're doing and where you're going.
Right.
Determines. Like I saw there's a 380, there's a 1911 chambered for 380, which I think, okay, really?
Oh, well, is it the full-size one or the small one?
I don't know. I just heard there was some company makes a 1911 chamber for 380.
Well, I looked at this one. I get what you're thinking, but I'm with you on that. But I looked at one at the SHOT Show, and I don't know if maybe there's 2 different kinds or whatever, but I looked at this one, and it's actually really cool as not a self-defense gun, but just a gun just to have.
Okay.
Because basically what it is, of course, there's smaller 1911s.
Yeah.
Basically, it's like a full size, but has a smaller, shorter slide, shorter grip. But what this is, it's a scaled down 1911.
Okay.
So it looks like the same exact profile as just a full size government 1911, but it's been shrunk basically.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's cool is 380 in a way, when you look at the round, it's almost like a little mini 45 ACP. So it's like a half 1911. It's kind of awesome in some ways. I actually liked it. Not for carry or anything like that.
It's good to look. Okay.
But to own and to mess around with, pretty cool.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And of course, I like to collect guns too. So
personally, for self-defense, as if you don't know, I very strongly advocate 1911. And if you're on a personal carry, the commander version
is definitely better. Yeah.
Go with that. If you're going to shoot them, then you got to have something to go put them on there. If they're not down in 2 rounds, there's a problem.
Right.
So
I'm thinking somebody released a polymer frame 1911 at SHOT Show. I might be wrong on that, but I'm interested to see one of those sometime, because the one thing about the 1911, people say it's a dead design and all this kind of stuff, but the thing is, the 1911 does better than any other gun to me. Still, is it's so damn thin. It's so thin,
World War I, World War II, Korea. Yeah. Do I need to keep going? Do I need to keep going?
Yeah.
I mean, the Marine Corps has went back to the 1911 as a sidearm. It's proven. It's been done that.
Yeah, and if you get a good one, they're pretty reliable.
Hey, a lot of affordable ones out there, as we both know.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. A lot of really unaffordable ones out there too.
That's right.
I tell you, I swear, no other gun has such a range. In price. I mean, you got everything from like $350 to $1,600 to like $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how expensive they can get.
I'm not gonna utter the G word from Austria. I'm not going to utter that word.
Yeah.
But I read an article said, as far as the best concealed carry guns, the Glock 25 and 26 were about the best out there. I personally don't agree, but this magazine, this gun magazine, touted that the best concealed carry weapons out there are Glock
6 and 27.
26, 27, yeah. And the only difference between the 26 and 27 is caliber.
Right.
But I'm not a fan of the plastic gun.
Yeah.
I know that's sacrilege to a lot of you folks out there.
Hey, no, there's people in your camp, you know. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own preference, you know.
Hey, but whatever. I saw some guy in this undisclosed location with a sticker on the back of his car, Glock Life. I went, dude, really? Really, dude?
That's taking it too far.
Yeah, come on, dude. Really? Come on.
Yeah, that's taking it too far. One thing, though, I do hate is when people say, oh, you're drinking the Glock Kool-Aid. Okay, you might not like Glocks, but first of all, they're a proven design.
I will confess. I will confess. We're G-rated. Gosh darn good gun.
Yeah.
Great gun, effective, proven.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of it.
Yeah,
And
which is totally fine, and you know.
primarily because no external safeties. No.
Right. And see, like, example of that for me, because I also love 1911, so I don't disagree with you there. But I'm like that about SIGs. SIGs, great guns.
Yeah.
Really great guns. I mean, Germans make they make everything good.
Can't win a war, but great, great weapons. Great weapons.
They about did. I'll say that.
Close. Close don't count. Horseshoes and hand grenades.
That's right. But they make some great stuff. Cars, guns. I mean, but the SIGs are great. They're unbelievable guns. I don't like them. I mean, I just don't.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just don't like them because, well, one, I don't like double single action. Okay. Now, they have some striker fired models out, which I like those pretty good. But it's still not better than the Glock to me. But again, it's all subjective. It's just my personal preference. You know, and there's probably someone right now that just spilled coffee on himself.
There are 3 birds.
He was cleaning his cig and just went to get a drink of coffee, and then he heard me say that and just spilled it all over himself. And he's like cussing all over the place and turning the table up, and he's working on his comment right now.
No problem. That's right.
But
personal preference.
Yeah,
personal preference.
I have nothing. It's not like I don't like people liking SIGs. They're great guns. I mean, like they're great guns.
Same
like
for Glock. I'll be the first to admit, great weapon, but I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I wish there was more of that. There was less discrimination in the gun culture when it comes to guns. I mean,
if they made a Glock with external safety, I'd have one.
Oh yeah,
I would. But many years ago, in this place that should remain nameless, this individual, I think I already told this story. This individual asked to see. It was a hot chick. Asked to see this dude's weapon, and the guy went, "Okay, here you go." And the first thing she did was pull that trigger. And thank God he had a 1911.
Yeah.
Because that weapon, I was all over him.
It saved him from his stupidity.
Exactly. I was all over. I'm like, dude, okay, number one, thank God you had a 1911. And number two, don't you ever do that again.
Yeah.
Because the first thing she did was pull that trigger.
Yeah.
Without even considering that weapon might be loaded.
Now, was this the situation that happened like on site at a work kind of place? Okay, because there was that one situation that you made me aware of. This happened after I was gone.
Oh yeah, that guy. No, not that guy.
Yeah.
That place. This was another dude in another place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're being vague enough, people.
We should do a whole show like this.
The dude in the place did this thing.
Yeah. There's a whole show speaking that vaguely.
But safety, and plus all those years in the Army, every Army weapon I ever handled had a safety on it.
Yeah.
Had a safety. It's a personal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And you know, some people they you know whine and moan about safeties on guns because saying that, you know, what if you know can't get it, disengage, all this kind of stuff. If you train with it, practice with it,
exactly. Training and confidence, you won't even think about it.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then you're fiddling around with it in the dark. Well, how come it won't shoot?
Yeah, I'll tell you one problem with some of the external safeties that are on some of the guns, the more modern guns. See, on 1911. It's big. It's especially on some of the custom ones. I mean, it's like too big. But but even on a standard though, it's you know it's very clear in there. It's very positive click. I mean, it's a great safety. It really is. But on some of the newer guns, I can't think of a good example like off the top of my head, but I know there's some more modern like polymer guns and stuff out there that have external safeties on them.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of like a why not, let's throw it on there kind of thing. And those are a little bit dangerous to me because they're small. Mm-hmm. And they're not very positive. They're not very good. To me, if you're going to have an external safety, that's the route you're going to go. It needs to be
big, and there it is. You can't miss it.
Exactly.
In this situation a couple of years ago, I had to put this guy at gunpoint. And I think one of the things I used to de-escalate the situation was 1911, the one I have, makes a very loud, audible click when you pull that safety off.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as they hear that, they know, dude, it's about to go terminal. I better stop. And the fact that he heard that safety come off, the thumb safety, because 1911 has 2. Thank you, boys and girls.
Yeah. And some of them have 3, actually.
Oh, dude. Oh.
The trigger block firing pin safety.
I'll be damned. I did not know that. As soon as he heard that thumb safety come off, all of a sudden he backed off. So that de-escalated the situation. I'm not saying that works every time, but that situation, the thumb safety, that loud audible click, they know it's about to go terminal, so they have no choice.
Yeah.
So,
and especially if he knows anything about 1911s and how light those triggers are.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. You think about it, it'll go off. So,
yeah.
Which is another reason to be very careful with safety. That I want a safety on there. When you got a trigger, if you think about it, the gun will go off.
Right.
So,
that's why I know, I can't remember if it's Jeff Cooper or what, a lot of the trainers that, they're a lot of the, especially the old school firearms trainers, are all about 1911s. Mm-hmm. And the way that a lot of times they'll train you to shoot with them is to to shoot it with your thumb on top of the safety, which I never really liked that. I don't do that, but basically the way they would operate one of those things is they only take the safety off when they're about to shoot. They take the safety off, shoot, put it back on. Yeah, they're gonna shoot some more, take it off again.
Yeah.
I kind of went with the whole thing when it comes out of the holster, the safety goes off. Once it clears, it's like once I get it up, I don't know what you call it, but once you get it up into that position where right before you push the gun out. Yeah, that's where I would take the safety off. It comes up, safety off, goes out, and then my finger stays straight until I'm ready to
keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to use it.
Same principle as I would with a Glock or something. Yeah, just that extra step. And some people might say that's dangerous. I don't see how it's dangerous because
your finger ain't on the trigger.
A Glock doesn't even have a safety, at all, and you keep, people carry those around the chamber all the time. So,
scary, dude.
Well, it's really not if you have a good holster is the thing. Mm-hmm. It's really not that different. As long as you have a good holster, the one thing about Glocks, they don't have any external safeties.
Okay.
But they do have safeties that will basically 99.999 to infinity prevent it from firing if it's dropped. Like the only way to fire a Glock is you have to physically pull that trigger.
It won't. Okay.
So
it's drop safe.
Right. Exactly. So if you have a good holster that protects the trigger guard, so it's not. There's no way it can be fired unless you pull it out of the holster, fall on it, do whatever you want. It falls out. It's not going to fire. Okay. So you pull out the holster as long as your finger stays straight. It's it's just as safe as a 1911 in that sense. But I could see how
my fear is that somehow, some way, a subject gets that weapon from you, right, and then you're done, right, because he's gonna pull that trigger. Yeah. Now, what I'm telling myself is that if somehow this guy gets his 1911 away from me, unless he knows about the weapon, he's familiar with it, he can pull that trigger all day. Right. If that safety, if he ain't got a good grip on it, and the grip safety's still engaged, or he don't take that thumb safety off, he can pull that trigger all day. Right. So I tell myself that anyway.
Yeah. I think odds are probably Bill upon anyone who could recognize the thumb safety. But yeah, I mean it's possible.
Oh, that time it takes him to go, how come it don't shoot? You're on it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's true. It is possible. Yeah, one thing that I've thought about some lately. It's been in the news a lot. Of course, terrorism. It's always in and out of the news since 9/11 for many different reasons. And one thing that's interesting. Okay, so what does the average person need to do? That's one thing that I've thought about some, and I wanted to talk about on the show is what kind of precautions can the average person take. Or what should the average person be expected to do with terrorism? Because the news definitely confuses people, and a lot of things about it confuse people. Because remember back when we used to have the different Well, I guess they still have it. They just don't announce it like they used to. But we'd be like, oh, now it's at code orange. Or,
Yeah.
like, what do you do
Threat
different?
level. Yeah,
you don't do anything different. Nothing.
Because
you know?
it's been there so long, and they keep raising it, lowering it, and nothing happens. So
Yeah.
people kind of disregard it.
Yeah, exactly. It's useless. Nobody, you're not going to do anything different.
I don't think they still do it anymore. Though.
No, they don't.
So,
Yeah, if something serious needs to go down, the government's going to do it whether they tell you about it or not. That's the thing. You know, it's not like they're going to ask you for your permission. You know, I mean, they're going to do it.
Terrorism. I think one thing we have to worry about is domestic terrorism.
Right.
We got enough nutcases of our own. Out there. What was that guy in Cincinnati who was going to throw pipe bombs at the Capitol building and shoot people as they ran out?
I think I heard about that.
We got guys like that. We got to worry about those guys.
Yeah, they're out there for sure.
But people did the responsible thing, which is his friend. As soon as he started talking, he was talking on Facebook. Okay, boys and girls, talking about terrorism on Facebook, not good.
Right.
Not good.
That's like the first thing you learn in terrorist camp.
Don't go on Facebook.
Yeah. That's like day one right there.
Update your status. Dear Mom, learn pipe bombs today. So his friend called the FBI once he started talking about it on Facebook. Also, his dad, he was 20 years old, living in his dad's basement, and he said, "Yeah, I want to." He converted to Islam, and he wanted to go off and be a terrorist and fight jihad. And his dad went, "Are you crazy?" And hey, police, get over here.
Yeah.
So people did the right thing.
Got a terrorist in my house.
People did the right thing, and this guy, his dad said that he was kind of lost, wandering, no direction, and from what I've seen a lot of that, you get a lot of people out there who feel like this is something they want to do. They don't have any direction in life, and they just kind of latch on to this.
Yeah.
Which is, you have to be aware of that, and I think that's how you protect yourself, by being aware.
Right.
That yes, it could happen. Is it likely? Probably not. But we have to be aware, just like in your daily life for ordinary crime. Be aware that this could happen. That it is out there. Don't be an ostrich with your head in the sand.
Right.
It could happen. So
but then don't be a fear all
don't
the
be
time.
paranoid. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing that people can do is have guns.
That's
right. I mean, of course, if there's explosives, and you can't have a shootout with the bomb.
That's right.
But but there has been several of these events, like the thing in Paris, where if people had guns, they could have maybe. I'm not saying they would have, but they could have done something.
I think it would have been less likely because, as we've unfortunately seen here, all these shootings and stuff go on in places that are anti-gun or less likely to have weapons.
Right.
You don't hear about no shootings in Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
or Georgia, or Alabama, or even Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have tried something like that in Nashville
because they, pretty likely there could be somebody out there with a weapon.
Yeah, they would have gotten some people for sure, but even those guys, were actually kind of knew what they were doing and stuff like that. It doesn't matter if there's people around who are far less trained than them. Mm-hmm. It screws with their plan. They can't just free for all to take out anybody.
Because there's always a chance, depending on where you're at, that somebody is going to confront them.
Right.
Or at least return fire or stand up to them. It's not going to be a turkey shoot.
Right.
When you're the only guy with a gun with a bunch of unarmed people.
Right.
And we can't be afraid like those guys that walked into that news place over there in France. They knew there was nobody in there that they could confront them. They do that.
Right.
I don't think here it wouldn't be so easy here.
Right.
Depending on where you're at.
Yeah. A lot of the biggest problem with terrorism is just the fear that it spreads,
which is what they want.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just like I like to tell people, just don't watch the news. I mean, that's what's so great about the internet. Mm-hmm. The same garbage that the news puts out is on the internet.
Yeah.
But the thing about the internet, if you know what you're doing, you can just look up an article and read. Oh, here's the thing. Here's what happened. Here's both the facts
sides.
of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's some other articles, and you can just get this, and you don't get all the stuff where they're trying to make you really worried, and the emotional warfare, as I call it.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And plus, the thing is, the news, it's always the same story, really, when you get down to it. Some kind of impending doom is happening that you need to. There's really nothing you can do to prepare for it, but you need to worry about it, and you need to make sure that you're checking up on the news to make sure it hasn't gotten worse.
What was that? Some movie, scary movie, 5 or 15, whichever one they're on.
Yeah.
They did. The girl was a reporter, and she said the best line I heard on the comment on the media. The news. What's on the news? Sex and violence. Sex, violence, and the weather.
Yeah.
That's what, sex, violence, and the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the news. And, it's like in Natural Born Killers with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
They
Great
told
movie.
the reporter.
Weird movie, but great movie.
Yeah. They said that Woody Harrelson told the reporter, the media buys and sells fear every day.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. So it's like somebody watch it.
You just have to. If you're gonna watch it, then you got to understand that these people are going for ratings too.
Right.
So the nice story about something good that happened is not going to be on the news.
Right.
Like I noticed that when they tell you that 50 people killed in a car crash, and you're like, what? And then they go to commercial.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to get you
back. You come back, and it's like, where was this at? And it's like Southern Zimbabwe. What the? Who cares, man? Who cares? That's too bad, but it's across the ocean, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's about ratings, getting your attention and making you watch.
And one thing too, the news is it has you worried about. It has you thinking very short. It kind of causes you to think very short-sighted.
Yeah.
It has you looking at your feet instead of looking around. There's a lot of things that is kind of one of the impacts that it can have without you realizing it. And the thing you can do if you're like people who are listening, if they're interested in the effect that the news has, watching the news, is try like going about a month without watching it at all and just see how you feel. I mean, it's amazing. I
feel so less stressed now.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I know.
Fine. I don't know why.
I don't feel like there's constantly something I need to be concerned about. But it's made it like I'd basically never watch the news. I'll look up some stuff on the internet. I like to be aware of some things that are going on, but I'm not worried about knowing about every little thing because. Also, I'm not that concerned about it. To be honest. I got a life to live,
Also, you got to keep perspective, too.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this world, but how's it affecting you?
Exactly.
And the people that you know. I mean, come on. There's a forest fire in eastern Ukraine, but dude, I'm here.
Right.
Does that bother me?
And I'm interested. That's one thing I noticed it had effect how I kind of changed since I stopped watching the news. Is I'm more concerned with the big picture of things instead of worrying about the fact that like some guy went to jail yesterday for something that he didn't do, and worrying about that specific thing. Then I'm thinking about maybe the prison system is screwed up or something. You know what I mean? Like you think about you're more likely to think about the big picture instead of what do they call it? Isn't it, what's that quote? It's like the devil's in the details.
Devil's in the details,
something like that. Like that's the news does that to you. You know.
Well, you lose perspective. I mean, a lot of stuff that you see on the news doesn't really affect you at your level.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but I'm here and. Is it going to affect me? How's my life going to change? None, not at all. Like Washington, all these reports about stuff we see coming out of D.C. and all these meetings on Capitol Hill. Yeah, that's right. That's the big picture up there. But down here where I am, what effect does it really have? I mean, is my life going to really change? Probably not.
And the thing is, you can figure out everything you need to know in a few minutes on the internet without having to sit and watch all this junk.
You read through the stuff. What's the stuff that's pertinent to me?
Right.
And you can get rid of a lot of anxiety. And again, just remember, anything you see on the news, take it with a grain of salt. Okay, great. That's good. Yeah.
Be your own reporter.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, that's what I do. I just scour on the internet.
Find out what's out there. Again, what's important to you, what's pertinent to you. Yeah, if a river's going to flood 2 miles from your house, you might need to know that.
Yeah.
That's important.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Important. But the price of rice in New Zealand is this. I don't think so, dude. That's not too important here.
Yeah. And exactly. Another thing too, it does is the news. If you only watch the news, then it kind of like all your attention gets sucked there, and it's just really kind of a really narrow window of what's really going on. So you end up thinking that if it wasn't on the news, then it must not be happening.
Well, I mean, just remember that you got your life to live. And your family, your friends, and your life. So you gotta focus on that. Not what's going on in Greenland. Dude, don't care, man.
Yeah, exactly. I hope everything's fine over there.
I hope everything's fine, but
Yeah, that's the thing. Most of the stories that are like impending doom, there's nothing you can do about it anyways. A lot of times,
A lot of people get through, and it can lead to a lot of depression too. Because man, the stuff sucks. Well, does it really?
Yeah.
Does it really, or is it just perspective?
Oh, yeah. Or are you only focusing on the worst stuff that's happening in the entire planet?
Because because that's all that's on the news,
right? Yeah.
Plane crash, this tragedy, that starvation, that. Okay, all right, okay, fine. Let's go to Wendy's.
Yeah. Poisoning the meat. This.
Let's get something to eat. I'm hungry.
And then you go home and someone. Did you hear about that story at Wendy's? All these people are getting sick.
That's right. So again, perspective. Just keep your head, man. Everything's gonna be fine. Keep your head. Do the right thing. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I always say, balance with everything.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Everything is relative, so you gotta find a balance somewhere.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I guess we'll conclude the show, and as usual, I don't have a sign-off line, so we'll just end it on something really random, like bye.
You gotta work on that guitar riff. I'm gonna keep telling you.
Oh yeah, I know. I got to do that. Yep. I got to make that happen one day. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later.